1991, Paramount Pictures and Jeff Speakman created what I think is possibly the perfect 90s martial arts film. Howdy, folks. I'm Uncle Bill, and we're going to be talking about this new release from Kino Lorber, 1991's The Perfect Weapon with Jeff Speakman. This was a huge part of my childhood. This film came out at just right around the right time. I was, a young kid growing up impressionable, and this was like the martial arts movie that played on cable over and over and over again, and I came to love this movie then, and I still love this movie now after revisiting it in this great new release and transfer. And yeah, this was a dream come true for me. I've been waiting for a good version of this film to come out for a long time, and with Kino, you get a great version of this film. So let's talk about the film first, and we'll talk about the specs of the film later. So 1991 was, the era of still kind of the 80s. You had, that late 80s vibe kind of encroaching into the 90s. The music was mostly pop and hip hop and things like that. One of the main songs around this movie is the I've Got the Power song. I don't know if people remember that song. It was huge around the early 90s. It's the main theme song, and they play it they play it on the title screen, they play it at the ending credits. But anyway, that was kind of the backdrop for this film. And you had Jean-Claude Van Damme, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had Steven Seagal was just coming into prominence. And I always thought that Jeff Speakman was kind of the unsung hero of that era of action stars. He was the one that he was a combination of Chuck Norris and Steven Seagal. He was faster than Seagal. His moves looked better than Seagal's. They were crisper. But personality wise, he kind of favored Chuck Norris. And I don't know if that's what they were going for. Back then, all of the action stars basically had, very limited range, and they were just kind of, wooden in their performances. But this is the story of really two brothers. And it's Jeff Speakman and his brother who are being raised by a police officer. And Jeff Speakman kind of loses his name is Jeff in the movie, by the way. I guess they didn't want to confuse him or anything. He's losing control of his anger and his temper. So his father decides that the best thing for him to do is, guess what? You'll never guess. Go to a martial artist, like go and stay with a martial arts master and learn how to control his temper. So he does that, and through there is a laundry list of great character actors from martial arts films and from the 90s in this movie. For example, you got Mako, who he always seems to play the same kind of role where he's like the guider slash protector slash, you know, I don't know what you call him. Like he's not really the martial arts master in this film, but he is like the father figure, I guess, in this film. He's also in Sidekicks. He plays basically the same role in Sidekicks. Most people might know him too as the wizard from the Conan the Barbarian films. James Hong is in this film. He plays the heavy, the lead bad guy. You've got, I mean, just Professor Tanaka from the WWF, who, would go on to be Sub-Zero in The Running Man. People probably remember him most from that role. He was in a ton of different movies as a character actor. He plays like the henchman. Uh Kerry Tagawa, who most people remember him from the Mortal Kombat movies. There is just a laundry list of people, like I said, that are in this movie. Speakman's brother is played by a guy named John Dye, who I didn't really recognize from much of anything else, but he tragically passed away at the age of 47 from a drug overdose. So he had a really shortened life. But anyway, the two brothers couldn't be more different. One of them, is more calm and kind of passive, and Jeff Speakman, Jeff is just like a angry young man. So the father, who's like I said, he's a policeman. He finally decides like he can't take any more of Jeff getting in trouble, so he sends him off to live with this martial artist. And the martial artist raises him on a brand of martial arts called Kimpo. Now, Jeff Speakman is a ninth or 10th degree black belt in Kimpo in real life. And that's the basis of the whole movie, really, is Jeff Speakman wanted to bring Kimpo, on screen and really like demonstrate like what it was. And I think he pretty much succeeds in doing that. So you fast forward a little bit and he grows up. He's having the montage slash flashback sequence like Van Damme in Bloodsport, where he's thinking about all the crazy stuff he did as a kid. He's driving back into town to visit Kim, who's played by Mako, and he gets there and they're talking, and the neighborhood, of course, has changed. The neighborhood always changes, and there's always a crime element, and all these, mafia people are taking over. And, when he gets there, he interrupts this mafia shakedown of Kim's, little storefront that he's got, and he ends up beating up everybody, which enrages the main mafia boss, who then sends his henchman, played by Professor Tanaka, to kill Kim. And when Kim is killed, that's what really sparks Jeff to go on this spree to get revenge. And, with the help of his brother, who's a detective by that point, he goes on this spree of trying to take down this mafia boss, which you find out is James Hong. His character is young in the film, but in the beginning, you think that he is actually like the good guy, and he kind of strings, Jeff along to try to get at him to help take out all these other mob bosses. And he figures if he can get him to be the perfect weapon, meaning taking out all these mob bosses without anybody figuring out that it's actually him who is a mob boss who is the one behind it, then he's created the perfect weapon. So that's where the title comes from. But it also, comes from just him being a badass martial artist as well. The fight scenes in this movie were choreographed amazingly well. And on one of the featurettes that's on here called Street Speed, which is an interview with Jeff Speakman, he talks about like he spent days, weeks setting up these fight sequences with not just like stuntmen that he didn't know. These were people that knew Kimpo and they knew like what he wanted to do. And he would like diagram out a lot of these fight sequences, as would um, another guy, Ed Parker, who was he was a grandmaster, and he also taught Elvis and a lot of really famous people, Kimpo. He helped him with the fight choreography as well. And this was kind of a love song to him as well. He passed away right as this film was being released from a heart attack, which was a sad kind of thing too. But this film has so many great set pieces, and just the fight scenes are so crisp. He's so fast. I always thought that this is what I always thought. Like, Seagal was always regarded as being like this guy that was quick with his hands and the Aikido and all that stuff. But Speakman was really much faster, much crisper, much better of a martial artist, much more mobile, much more athletic than Seagal ever even thought about being. And you watch these fight sequences in real time. They're not sped up or anything. And you're just one in particular is, outside he takes out like four guys in about 10 seconds. And you watch how that kind of plays out, and you're just like, that's amazing, how fast that is. And I always thought Speakman should have been utilized more in different kinds of martial arts films. It seems like after this one, he just didn't. He did, four or five more films, but it just didn't pan out. Like this one was by far the peak of the Speak. I might trademark that. Anyway, there's another great sequence at the end with Professor Tanaka, which is like the lead bad martial artist guy. That's a great sequence, a great fight between them. Tanaka had the professional wrestling background, and Speakman, has the fight choreography background, and they kind of mix them together, and it's great. Um, all around great movie, and just if you liked movies like Mark for Death, or Out for Justice, like the Seagal movies like that, or even like the Brian Bosworth, like Stone Cold, or the Brandon Lee movies from around that time period. I think this movie stands the test of time with any of those movies that were, not the big guys like your Schwarzeneggers, Stallones, Van Dammes, but like one tier, like right below that. And maybe this one to me is like right up there with all those movies too. So to talk about this disc itself, there was a Blu-ray release of this before, and I think it was just a basic Blu-ray release that really didn't like uh, restore anything. This is a 4K restoration from the original camera negatives, and as you know, that's like the most pristine version of the film that you can get. It looks amazing. Like I'm just flabbergasted that I can see this movie, which was just a cable movie that I saw, growing up. It did hit theaters and everything, but I mean, that's where I saw it in this good a quality. But you're talking about movie was made in 91. It looks like it was made yesterday. The way that it's remastered, um, outstanding job. There's audio commentary by director Mark DeSalle and the action film historian Mike Leader. Street Speed is a really good little like featurette interview with Jeff Speakman about the movie. There's deleted and extended scenes, which I don't think have been on any other release of this film, and a theatrical trailer. It's an 86-minute long movie, so it's a great watch. You breeze through it. It's like I said, to me, one of the most underrated action films from the 90s. Very few people, reference this movie, but if you're an action film buff, like about this movie, and even if you're not, you probably saw it on cable when you were growing up, if you grew up in the 90s. It's a great film, great fights, great set pieces, just amazing job by Jeff Speakman in this, and I couldn't recommend it. Kino Lorber's got this out right now. Go out and buy it. 100% recommend that you do. I'm Uncle Bill. Check us out at deadpit.com, into the deadpit.com, and we will see you later.
Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a fuck.
I want you to. I don't care. Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last South on the left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows, fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.